Welcome to the Midwest Game Nerds podcast. I'm your host, John. Here with me today are Brian
Hey.
and Alex.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk a handful of game news as well as some Gears tactics and other things we've been playing. But before we get to all of that, if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch a show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe as little as $1 a month to help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. And as always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. We are Twitch affiliates. You can give us your Twitch money and your Prime subscription if you want. That would be sweet. If not, it's cool. We totally understand. But if anything, please do follow us on there because it would be great to see that people like to see us on Twitch and whatnot too. We do stream every once in a while too, games and stuff. So it's good to follow us to see when we do that. Other than that, Alex, any bumpers for the network?
Yes, hearty congratulations to the Horror Movie Yearbook Boys as they celebrate their 100th episode, which is going to be out very soon. They talk about their top 10 horror movies of all time, and I think some people wrote in as well, so please go check that out. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. And make sure you tweet at them or email them or whatever to let them know that that you're glad they made it to 100. That's an awesome achievement.
Yeah, that seemed to come up fast.
Yeah, well, I think they counted a bunch of bonus episodes and things like that too, and that's reasonable. So they done a great job over there. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah.
And Westworld is finished for the season. We have our final recap out on the feed right now, but I believe John is going to join Nick and I to talk about the season as a whole this week.
Yes.
So that will be coming out later this week, probably Tuesday night or sometime on Wednesday. Please check for that if you are so inclined. Should be an interesting discussion because there are some differing opinions about this season of Westworld.
Yes, very much. Very much so. And I can't remember who just joined us in the chat. What's his name?
Sidse?
Her name.
I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think she's some form of European, Norwegian-ish.
Sidse Esbeck.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. If I butchered that, I'm so sorry.
I don't know if they listen to Game Nerds
but their input on the channel, like, I mean, they wrote this enormous amount of stuff that just like made so much sense to me and just made me think that you and Nick are probably just like, no, this season was terrible.
I haven't read all of it yet, but I was going to chime in because I saw your comment. I was like, I think my brother would like to hear your podcast more than mine.
I feel like it's too late for me to see what's been said. Because for some reason it was showing up as like grayed out, which in most channels on my Discord means nobody's said anything. So I was like, oh, I guess nobody's been talking about Westworld. Then I looked in there one day and I'm like, oh shit.
You may have muted it.
It's mostly
there are times where I've like blown it up. Like,
because I was behind a day or two, I think, for one of the seasons.
Yeah.
And that was why, but I've been watching it like the night of every time.
John and Nick and I have been discussing quite a bit. But
I'm very
anyway,
current.
That's all in our Discord. Please check it out if you become a Patreon donor.
Yeah. If you join Patreon, you get to talk to us like
That's
our other
true.
cool friends.
I will drop everything at the drop of a hat to come and talk to the people who pay us to be in our Patreon. So,
and I will drop most things.
Yes, that's fair.
But other than that, I will start first with what I've been playing because it's fun. And I tried playing Last of Us again to prep for Last of Us 2 coming out shortly here. And I still, like, I don't know. Here's part of my issue with games in general and becoming a father is that I see myself having to pick them up and put them down like all the time. And I feel like I'm only a few hours into The Last of Us and I feel like I need to start over again because I don't remember any of the controls. And I'm at the point where I have to fight that bloater in the gym at the school, if anybody remembers that.
God, I cannot remember
For
it
the
all.
life of me, I can't beat that damn thing because I can't seem to run away from it fast enough, or like the aiming in that game is just something else. So
I remember really enjoying that game, but I played through it relatively quickly, which I feel like is the only way to do it. You definitely don't want to set it up and like try to pick it up again a
Mhm.
month later
Yeah,
like
just
you
like
did.
sit down and just do it and be
I
done with it.
remember the beginning and the end though, or they're just
Yeah.
very memorable, and that's like all you really need to remember.
I
Okay.
was planning on watching like a recap of the main game and then playing the DLC that I never played because I know it's kind of a
Yeah.
separate story and it's included in the remaster. So unfortunately I don't quite for some reason I just fell off of restarting that game and I'm hoping that doesn't bode poorly for the new game. Like maybe I'm just uh not ready to play those types of games anymore. I don't know. I have no idea what it could be, but no, I want to at least refresh myself on some of the finer story points and check out that DLC because I know people said it was very, very good. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I want to play Last of Us 2 because I like everything about the story in these
Mhm.
games. And it's definitely the kind of game where normally I would just sit and watch someone else play it. But I don't just want to just I don't want to just recap it on the internet. Like I feel like that's doing myself a disservice. So I actually want to play it. Um but I have a lot of difficulty with the controls, I guess. Other than that, Megan and I played some more Snipper Clips last night, which is a classic Nintendo Switch game for 2 to 4 people. If you haven't played it yet, it's amazing.
There's a
Great little puzzler.
launch title for the Switch.
Yeah, it's a great little puzzler. It's fantastic. It's
Mhm.
so much fun and so interesting and so frustrating all in one. Um, we've done everything. Like we've played every level except there are 2 in the science lab set of like puzzles that we cannot figure out. So we tried doing that for a few hours, ended up getting super frustrated, and I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. Let's find something else to play. And she was like, do you have any other 2-player games? And I'm like, not really. Like we can try Mario Maker. So I made her play Mario Maker so she could play through my level minor
And she was like,
frustrations.
"This is stupid. I
She
hate you for making this."
she was impressed that somebody actually beat David Steele's record, and
Uh,
it was like 13 seconds or something
What?
like that.
that
Yeah,
sounds
like
like
they
an
beat my
exploit.
level in 13 seconds, which I was just like, what the hell? Like, so Dave, if you're listening to this, man, you go, you need to get back on the throne, bro.
I'm impressed someone else played it. Like, who
Actually,
wants to play a game a level with that name?
it has over 260 something runs and or actually it's like over 300 some odd runs. 260 of them are completed runs and only yeah, it was or no, like the percentage is like 63% completion or something like that. But
Hmm.
Wait, was it yours or Alex's where you had to pick up all the coins?
That was
that was
mine.
Alex's.
Okay, Alex's is the one I hate.
That's the one that didn't get deleted for being
It's
a
just
podcast promotion,
it's
I believe.
super tedious.
What did I call it? Isn't it called tedious or something? I don't know. Anyway.
Tedium.
Yeah.
A statement by Alex from the Midwest Game Nerds.
Tedium infinium.
So anyways, we did that real quick. I showed her that there's like millions of other levels that we could download, and we both kind of were like, nah, that's just too much work. So I downloaded Overcooked and we started playing that, which is still a fun game to play. Super simple, but can become extremely chaotic very fast. And so we were playing that for a bit and got super frustrated and decided maybe this wasn't our night to be playing video games together.
I don't
So then
know.
we stopped.
Overcooked can do that to a couple. I know Nicole and I had a similar experience with it when we first started playing it. But I think that Moving Out game is on Game Pass for the console at least.
Oh, okay.
So I want to try that out sometime. I don't know if it'll be. I'm hoping that one because you don't necessarily have like a full process to follow of like here's how you cook things. I'm wondering if that one will be just a little bit more accessible.
Well, it is like they did change it. It looked like in the preview movie that they show, like you do have to Tetris things into the truck properly.
Okay.
And there's different levels where like there's like a spaceship or like UFO level where everything is like rounded. So you have to like two people pick things up and have to rotate it around like surfaces to get it out the door the right way and things like that. Like
Interesting.
Whoa. Okay,
they've
this
made
sounds like my game.
they've made it way more complicated than what we originally saw at like PAX. But it's yeah, I considered picking that up because it was newer.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched the video and I was like, I already know how to play Overcooked to some extent, so I don't want to like just dive into something head first without having any clue of how it works exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, just get Overcooked and play that one.
Fair
So
enough.
we played that, got equally frustrated, and decided it was time to go to bed. So, but yeah, that's all. Oh, I did play Chimera Squad too. Also, the XCOM Chimera Squad. That is very
Mhm.
cool. The breach aspect of that is very sweet. That's one of the cooler things I've seen in a tactical strategy game of sorts. So that's a game. It's cheap enough. I think everybody should probably steal it on Steam.
I'm pretty sad because the $10, the half off price disappeared on May 1st, and I did not pick it up before that. It's now $20, which is still not that much. And from what I've heard from you guys and from other podcasts, I feel like I would probably enjoy it even more than I enjoy other XCOM. But you know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure. Let's see. I'm at 13 hours, and I'd say I've got at least another 6 before I finish the campaign.
Nice.
So it's $20 would still be worth it.
But between that and the fact that Gears is free on Game Pass,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
you know, it's kind of hard for me to be like, I could spend $20, or I could play this game that I already have.
I would
So-
say, yeah, honestly, Gears Tactics levels go by pretty quick too.
Mhm.
Like you can finish one in like 15, 20 minutes, I would say. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in a bit.
Yeah. Anyways, what else have you guys been playing?
played a lot of Rainbow Six last night,
How'd that go?
per usual. It was pretty cool. They have an event going this week
Mm.
that's pretty wild. What's it
The
called?
Grand Larceny.
Oh yeah. It's like an old timey kind of take on the original Hereford base level.
Okay.
Except they took out a bunch of beams or made them destructible in like the floor. So all the floors are basically completely destructible if they're soft.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
and
can fall
everybody
from
has
the
a
third
shotgun.
floor to the basement if there's clear flooring below you.
Yeah, you can kill yourself very easily that way. I've done it many times. But yeah, everybody has a shotgun only and their usual skills. There's no timer for defense to like set up. It just starts right away. And the attackers are supposed to either wipe out the other team per usual, or they can unlock 3 safes.
And I think there's 5 or 6 safes in
I think
the
there's
level.
6, yeah.
Okay. So there's several to defend as the defenders, but it's basically you like holding F to unlock the safe in order to open it up. And if you get 3 of them, then you win the round.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. It's like it's really chaotic and just ridiculous. But it's pretty fun to play like 2 or 3 of them in a row before like as a break from playing the regular modes.
It was fun, and it made me realize why I'm so terrible with the shotgun on PC, which I think is also what you discovered, is the fact that like I always want to be aiming down sights, and if you're aiming down sights with a shotgun in that game, then you're doing yourself a huge disservice on PC at least. And so
only if you're using like the normal shotguns. If you're using Kaid's shotgun or Goyo's shotgun, which are basically sniper shotguns, like
yeah,
I don't.
Well,
is Kaid even in the event?
he is, but his
swapped his
like
shotgun out.
slug shotgun is swapped out with a regular shotgun of some sort. So there are no slug shotguns in that mode because that would be unfair.
But they do have Echo has his Supernova shotgun, which I always enjoyed quite a bit. So that was what I was mostly gravitating towards. But yeah, it's fun. It's very different because it just felt like we were a lot more aggressive in playing that than you are when you normally play a Rainbow Six game. And it seems like there's a lot more opportunities for there's so many saves in the level that it's hard to keep them all defended well. And like we started trying to try and make sure as many of them were on one floor as possible, but it's not always possible to do that because there's not always clear flooring below each of them. So it was just kind of fun to play that game in a completely different way. Plus, I like a lot of the skins and things that they have for that event as
Yeah.
well. They look really cool.
Unfortunately, the only skin I got unlocked is for Warden, which is an operator I never use.
Me
Really.
too. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the events that they do for Rainbow are very much like fortune favors the bold type. Like you have to play them aggressively. Like they're very much engineered that way because I think they know like most people play the normal game fairly reserved to some extent, except for those
Yeah.
crazy outliers of people who will play as Amaru and just launch themselves into the second floor of every building right away and kill the whole team in 30 seconds. Like you don't see a ton of that, but you get those events every once in a while. And when you play these other like side events that they release, like I feel like they almost always they make you kind of play that way.
It's fun that they changed the fundamentals of the game to make you play it very differently with those events. And we were kind of saying, I don't understand why they don't run them for longer than like a couple weeks. I wish that they would always have like a separate mode like those. They should just run those through the whole season or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I actually don't even know how long that one lasts. I would check it out within the next day or two in case it ends, though.
yeah.
Right on. What else? Who else has played stuff?
Played more. Well, wait. I guess we're talking Gears Tactics, but I
Yeah.
talked about that last week. I thought. Or
Nope, it was
2
not
2 weeks
yet.
ago.
It wasn't out yet. 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Did you play anything else?
More XCOM Chimera Squad, like a lot more of that. I've been enjoying that. I've mostly just been switching between that and Gears Tactics.
Lots of tactics going around.
Yeah, that's just what I'm in the mood for.
Well, that's good because there's a wealth of it right now.
What about Streets of Rage?
Oh, I figured we were talking about that later. Or should we talk about that
I
right
think-
now?
Let's talk about it now because I figure we're gonna do all the games and everything up front, and then we'll do news for the end.
Well, and you also are. I think you're the only one that played Streets. John, did you play any Gears or no?
I didn't have a chance. No.
Okay, I played like the opening mission or two and can talk about it a little bit. So start with Streets.
Okay. So basically, have you guys? Did you say you have played Streets of Rage or not?
Yes, we had a Genesis, so we played like the original Streets of Rage, like 1, 2, and 3.
I
back
never
in the
played
day.
Streets of Rage.
I
played
did.
other
I mean, I'm
beat-em-ups.
familiar with them. The
Yeah.
beat 'em up style. Like Alex said, he's played the Turtles one, Hyperstone Heist.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much in the same vein as those games. It's a beat 'em up through and through. 2D hand-drawn art, like old school-ish kind of music. There's actually a setting to switch the music to retro mode, which I think adds a little more chiptune kind of flavor to it. But otherwise, it's kind of like a mix of like synths and live instrumentation and stuff. It's very cool. The music's awesome. The graphics are great. Like the artwork fits the old style very well, but looks, more modernized to an extent. Yeah, it's just like really fun. There's I think 4 characters to pick from the start, but as you play the game and achieve certain things, I don't really know exactly what they are, but you unlock old characters from like all the other Streets of Rage games.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's also variations of them. Like you can unlock the original like pixel art versions of them as well as new hand-drawn versions of them.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I played through the whole game with Jim, but I mean it's obviously designed for replayability. But it was pretty wild. It's definitely more difficult than the old ones. Like there's it seems simplistic at first, but there's a lot of like combos you can do and stuff that really like the skill ceiling's pretty high. You can keep playing and figuring out new, better ways to beat people up quicker, I guess,
So
and more effectively.
is it a max of 2 or is it 4 players?
It's 2 players.
Okay. And then so do you feel like there's um does it just feel like more Streets of Rage? Like, I don't know if much changed between 1, 2, and 3. Probably not back in the day. But do you feel like there's like an evolution from 3? Or does it just feel like a kind of a continuation of what it was before?
I don't remember 3 very well. Like, if I did play it, it wasn't too much. I played Streets of Rage 2 the most, and that one I loved. The first one was okay. I would say it feels very much like those games, but there's like I said, there's like an element of depth to it that the other ones didn't have that you just
Okay.
don't really notice at first. But as you acclimate to like the new combo system and stuff, you can yeah, you can do a
Well,
lot more with
and I assume with like modern processing, they're able to throw more things at you at any given time too. Like those games were pretty simplistic back in the day. I mean, they were the epitome of like button mashing. Like
yeah, I mean they play with the enemy types a bit more and stuff too, and the bosses. There's some
yeah,
interesting bosses. Um, and then after you finish the main campaign, it unlocks some other modes like boss attack and like battle mode, where I guess you can fight each other. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not really sure what the boss attack is. I assume has something to do with its name, like you keep fighting bosses or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I definitely want to go back and check it out some more.
So you were playing it. Is it on PC Game Pass as well?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so it's on both PC and
Mhm.
console Game Pass. That's pretty cool. Worth
And
checking
you,
out.
platform.
I believe so, yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I would definitely check it out if you enjoy beat 'em ups once in a while, even a little bit.
Yeah,
It-
I was gonna get into it before we started recording, but I'll just get into it now. Like I was just saying that Streets of Rage always felt like a broke ass Final Fight to me, which was like the Super Nintendo version of Streets of Rage, um, which I I don't know why, but like it always seemed like like Nintendo had this like how do I want to phrase it? This like air of like superiority over like Sega and
Well,
Genesis
yeah.
at that time. And so like it just felt like all these games were just kind of like washed up versions of like the Nintendo versions. And I never was a huge fan of Streets of Rage, but I played the hell out of some Final Fight, man. And I think a lot of it dealt with like Final Fight had graphics that were very similar to like Street Fighter 2,
Mm-hmm.
and I really liked those like anime characters. So like Streets of Rage didn't really like feel that way to me, but the new artwork for the new Streets of Rage like looks very like updated, like it looks very cool. Like it would
yeah,
if that's how it looked back in the day, I probably would have been all over it to some extent. So
It looks better than Discount Final Fight, is what you're saying.
yeah, exactly. The discount Final Fight.
Yeah, I mean,
Ye-
I loved a lot of those beat 'em up games. The ones that I remember most are the licensed ones, like you said. The Hyperstone Heist was always great for me. I know people like to hail Turtles in Time, but we didn't have the Super Nintendo when I was growing up.
Yeah. Double Dragon, like that stuff.
Double Dragon for sure, but the Power Rangers games, several Power Rangers games were very beat 'em up based, and then they would like move into like a kind of more like a fighting game when you got to like the Zord battle at the end of the level, which is kind of a cool way to do it. But those have always been fun to me, and so I don't know why I wouldn't like it, but I'm kind of like, why isn't this a Turtles game?
I actually finished Turtles in Time in the arcade because I didn't have a Super Nintendo either, but I loved that game.
Nice.
I wonder like if Streets of Rage was like brought back because of like the Battletoads game that's still kind of in production.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know who owns Streets of Rage and who made this new one and who made the old ones, but I have to wonder, like it feels like one of those properties that's old enough that it's had a very like weird past, so it'd be
It just seems
interesting to
like
see.
the people behind it are probably our age, and they saw that Battletoads thing like get announced like 3 years ago, and they were like, "Oh, we should do this for like another franchise." and then they were like, oh, nobody's talking about Streets of Rage, so let's do that, and then
Yeah.
they just like went and did it, you know.
That's entirely possible. Entirely
So-
possible. All right. Well, before we get into any Gears, I'll go through the same games that I played last week. Animal Crossing is still great. I made like $2.5 million on the stock market, paid off a bunch of loans. That was awesome.
It's not great. That
Hasn't-
sounds terrible.
It was awesome. Yeah, have not progressed. Like, there's not right now at this point. It's just kind of like, I don't know, making stuff look cool or however you want to do it. It got to the point in the game where after you get the quote unquote credits, you get the ability to start like terraforming, and you can like change
Mm-hmm.
land masses and move around rivers and like create ponds and things like that. So we haven't really experimented with too much of that yet, but I feel like that's coming pretty soon. So that'll be fun. And then Final Fantasy, I played maybe another like 5 or 6 hours or so. I haven't had as much time to play games these past couple weeks, but still very, very good. I'm kind of in the last like open hub of the game where there's a bunch of side quests to do. So I was wrapping up a bunch of those before I go on to finish the story. I think I maybe have 3 or 4 chapters left. But still enjoying it quite a bit. I have felt the difficulty ramp up a little bit. It's a little bit harder than what I was making it sound like previously, but I also feel like it might just be me getting a little lazy with trying to figure out how to take advantage of staggering the monsters a little better and using their weaknesses against them. So, but I'm still having fun with that. Excited to see where it goes. Still not at the point where I know some of the diehards were very unhappy with it, but curious to see what that ends up being. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I played the opening bits of Gears Tactics, which I think we can talk about now. It's only on PC right now, right?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure
Actually.
it's PC only, which has me a little bit scared for the future because I was assuming I'd be able to play all the Microsoft games on both.
I mean, seems a bit odd to me too, because they have a controller scheme built into it.
Yeah. Let me make sure that's true. But I'm pretty certain that it's at least right now only on. It's on Windows 10 and Steam, according to the Xbox website.
Interesting.
It doesn't mean it's not coming for Xbox at some point. But yeah, that's all that they have listed it for on Xbox.com. So
I mean, the Wikipedia says Xbox One.
it does. Yeah, I was looking at that too, but from Microsoft's actual website for Xbox, it literally just says Windows
Oh
10
yeah,
and
it's
Steam.
here.
on it.
An Xbox One version is in development with an unspecified release date.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me. It seems like it's ready for that, but anyway, so this is Gears Tactics. From what I understand, it takes place prior to all of the other games.
Yeah.
Even Judgment?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure where Judgment took place in the timeline.
I don't know where Judgment takes place, but I'm assuming this is a prequel to everything.
Okay.
Based on what happens in the game.
But yeah, so from my understanding, I think you're kind of playing as a character who's related to somebody from Gears 5, related to the main character from Gears 5. And also like you'll be running into other people scattered across the Gears chronology, which should be interesting as somebody who hasn't played through any of the Gears games. But it's very much a tactics game. You are controlling characters on the field. You have 3 actions that you can do with them each turn. Those can be all 3 movements.
Minimum.
Yeah, at least a minimum of 3 actions. You can gain more actions by doing basically glory kills, or like killing downed enemies, with melee. But, yeah, it's pretty straightforward tactics from what I understand, and it controls very nicely on the PC. And I've been using mouse and keyboard. Have you used any of the controller stuff, Brian, or no?
No. I just noticed it was an option.
Yeah.
Which made me think that if there was an Xbox version.
It's
There's
gotta
really
be,
no
it's-
reason why you couldn't play it on a controller.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not like an RTS or something.
I don't even know why they wouldn't Like, I don't know why they would hold it back for like a Series X launch or something like that, especially. But who knows? Who knows what's going on with it?
I mean, ray tracing could make the game look very pretty.
That's
It
true.
already looks really good.
It does look very good. I was kind of surprised that I was able to max it out, even though I have like a 2080 Super. I was still kind of expecting it to be like, nope, we'll put it on, you know, okay settings or something like that. I don't know, but yeah,
Medium ultra.
I didn't get too deep into it, but it seems like it's even hooking me enough to the point where I'm like, I could see myself playing more of this because I do want a tactics game to play right now. Like, I don't know what kind of disservice I'm doing myself by not knowing much about the stories of the original games. Like I said, I'm sure there are characters that I'll run into that I won't really. It'll be like if I'm watching an episode of Entourage where they're running into like sports stars that I have no idea who they are, and like everybody else who watches that show is like, oh my god, it's, you know, Marshawn Lynch, who I know from Westworld, but like, you know, what do I care? But anyway, so that'll
But
be
if
interesting.
it wasn't for Westworld, you would have no
Yeah,
idea
I
who Marshawn Lynch
wouldn't.
was.
It's very
Who
true.
is that?
He's
a football player.
He played Giggles
Oh.
in season 3 of Westworld. But anyway, but no, it seems like a very straightforward tactics game, and I feel like, and Brian, you'll have to speak to this a little bit, but I feel like they're doing pretty good service to some of the monsters of the Gears, like translating the monsters to behave in a similar way from the original game.
Oh yeah.
In like a tactics setting, like there's people who rush you, there's people who take cover, that type of thing. So what are your thoughts on it, Brian?
Well, yeah, they've translated the whole like Gears franchise over very faithfully. Like even down to the mechanics of how like you execute enemies and stuff. Executions have been a part of Gears since the beginning.
Yeah.
But like actually giving you a reward for doing something like that is awesome. Like a lot of the stuff in the skill tree that I've found so far, the skill trees are different for each type of class, by the way.
Okay.
It's like a branching skill tree. You start in the middle and you can go in like 2 different directions, and then they branch out up or down. It's pretty cool. Kind of a weird tree, I guess. Anyways, like some of the skills will reward you with an extra action for a successful execution and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by like it rewards your aggressive play. Like the more aggressive you play, the more actions you get and the more health you can get, because you can also like heal people by
Killing.
doing executions and stuff like that too. But yeah, that's all like stuff that is part of the Gears franchise, and like the fact that your loadout contains a sidearm is cool. That's like a good nod to Gears, because Gears you always carried like, well, it was like 2 weapons and a sidearm, I think, or no, one weapon and a sidearm and a grenade, and so that's cool.
Well, and it's interesting to me that the sidearm is what they give you to kind of, they have a specific skill on the sidearm to disable Overwatch from the enemy players.
I actually didn't notice that. That's cool.
I think that I don't necessarily know what it does any differently, but like it's basically if you land a successful hit, then it will definitely knock them out of Overwatch. The other thing I will say about Overwatch, it's fun because you get to set the cone of how far your Overwatch extends. And I just feel like that's really interesting, because normally it's like in XCOM, it's like you go into Overwatch and it's like if anything is within this area of me, then I will attack them because I recognize the motion or whatever. But the way that it works in this, it's a little bit more of a limited cone, but you get to be very selective about like, okay, I only want this guy to attack people who come from this corner, and I only want this guy to attack people who come from this corner, because that way you're not necessarily wasting an Overwatch activation on the same character twice.
But can you extend the length of the cone too, or no?
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's a maximum length, of course.
Well, and I also assume that the further out you extend it, the less accurate you're going to become if they activate it from further away. as well. So there's like a trade-off of like you can have a little bit more
Yeah.
coverage and stop them a little bit sooner, but you won't necessarily get the killing blow on them because they're a
Yeah.
little bit too far to.
The percentages actually drop off pretty quickly too, like
Mhm.
the percentage of hitting. I've noticed it seems to like play into like damage drop off more than like XCOM games do, and
Yeah,
accuracy. Like the further away a target is, the less likely you are to hit it, the less likely you are to do like crits, it
yeah,
seems. So
but also it doesn't necessarily seem like I didn't have anything yet where it was like I have a 90% chance to hit, but I still miss, which it
So
feels like
the
XCOM.
percentages are probably more accurate, you're saying?
yeah, they are.
That's cool.
It's a little bit less of a dice roll. It
Yeah, because
feels.
it sucks when you're in XCOM and you're literally like a two squares away from an enemy, like,
Mhm.
and it says like 98%, and then you
You
magically
get that
somehow hit the
2%.
miss, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, how is that even possible?
That's part of the charm of XCOM, I think.
But I was gonna say, like, because in Chimera Squad they added the cone for Overwatch too.
Mm,
Yep.
But it
okay.
also it goes I don't think it has a limited distance, but you can also do multiple floors. Like you can do between a top floor and a bottom floor.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
so that was a different change up for the Overwatch in XCOM.
I mean, it's definitely appreciated too, like from when you're on like the attacking side against the other team and they're using Overwatch, because like then you have an idea like where they're
Yeah.
overwatching and like where you can actually flank targets. Like so XCOM, Enemy Unknown, and XCOM 2, I swear, like these people's heads were like in The Exorcist. They just like turn 360 degrees and shoot you. Like how would they even know you're behind them?
It feels like a
It's
much more realistic depiction and use for Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and it allows for like real flanking maneuvers that actually make sense.
Yeah.
Um, I have one unit in Gears that she can actually cloak,
Oh,
and
nice.
that's super cool because you can just like straight up sneak up on people. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. I wish there was like a little more variety in the weapons and the mods and stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
they're pretty straightforward, like, gives plus 10% to accuracy and whatever. And a couple of them here and there have like a passive skill they'll give you. It's a little more dry, like than playing like an XCOM game.
Yeah.
You get, cool mind control abilities and stuff, but
Weird
it's a Gears
alien
game.
tech.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's only so much you can do.
The other thing that is a little weird that I wasn't necessarily used to is the idea that you need to reload your weapons, which is not something that at least I had experienced in XCOM. Like you
You
have to.
have to reload an XCOM too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
always
some of
been a
those
part of it.
longer fights, or if you have a character that you tend to favor for attacking, like you'll always have to like reload at some point.
Well, but
So
that like
you
in
end up wasting a turn like reloading your gun.
so in Gears it burns an action, one of your 3 actions in a turn, but your weapons usually have four bursts worth of ammo that they have in them before you have to reload. So it seems
Yeah.
like it's a much more frequent occurrence. At least maybe I was democratized enough in XCOM that I didn't run into it that much when I was playing it back in the day. But it feels a little bit different, and it changes up the rhythm a little bit. The one thing that I wish was a little bit different, and maybe there's a setting I can change. I don't know. I didn't dig into the menus too much, but it feels like like it'll tell you before you move if you're going to burn 2 points to move to a particular location. But I wish there was a little bit more clarity about like what those rings of movement are. Like
Hmm.
not that you can't just hover your mouse over to it and make sure you're only going to spend 1 point, but it's like, could I go a little bit further with this 1 point than what I'm thinking, or things like that. But honestly, I think I'd get used to it pretty quickly as I play more. So
Yeah, I don't feel like it's much of an issue once you get used to the game,
that's fair.
personally. But um,
How
yeah, I
do
don't
you
know.
feel about the story as somebody who knows more about Gears than me?
I find the characters to be a bit lacking. They're not very charismatic compared to the old ones or the original characters in the Gears franchise.
Well, and how about comparing that to even Chimera Squad right now, which feels a lot more character based?
Yeah, it lacks some life,
Yeah.
I feel. But I don't know. It might get more interesting. There's enough of a story there to make me want to keep going, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's just kind of there to service the gameplay and not really the other way around or anything. I mean, I guess that's how it was in Gears in general. Like the Gears stories had some dramatic moments and like some aha moments and like I don't know, just interesting things happened in the Gears games,
Yeah.
especially the newer ones. 4 and 5 had stepped up the story game quite a bit for that franchise. But yeah, I don't know. It's fine.
Were the like life grenades a thing in the other Gears games at all?
Not that I recall.
Because
That's been stolen from the Division.
Yeah, I
well,
think
yeah,
so.
Diaz, the main character, at least right now in the early scenes, was equipped with like a life grenade that you could throw to heal people, which I think is a pretty cool way
Yeah,
to work
I think
to
that's
do that.
just a necessary thing you have to add to a tactics kind of game like that.
Yeah, give you some way to recover some life at least, and to
Hmm.
do it at a distance like that, I think is pretty sweet. But
Yeah, and also, yeah, they stole it from the Division, probably.
that's fair. Any other thoughts on Gears?
Um, yeah, not really.
It's cool to me that they're taking it in this direction too. Like I for some reason Gears has just been one of those things to me that I was like I would like to check that out someday, and I just never have, even though like basically all of the games are free to me with Game Pass right now.
It doesn't have
And
any micromanagement, does it?
No. Well, I mean, there's no base
Like base.
building,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
you can extensively like
skill tree
customize
stuff.
your armor and stuff like
Mm.
that,
That's different. I mean,
and weapons.
I've said it in the past. Like my biggest gripe with XCOM is having to deal with the base building stuff, and like Chimera Squad doesn't have like that exactly. Like your base is
Exactly.
established, but you still have to research to like unlock new armors and things like that,
Yeah.
and weapons and other technology, like increase the effectiveness of like your drones and shit like that. But it's not like it's not as extensive as like
Hmm.
XCOM 1 is. And like I don't like that stuff. I like, for me, like if we go back to like Final Fantasy Tactics or even further back to like Shining Force, where you have these tactical
Yeah.
strategy games where like you you're literally just jumping from battle to battle, and like the
Mm-hmm.
story's kind of told in between in like cutscenes. Or like in Shining Force, like you would go to the next town and you would talk to all the villagers and the king and the land or whatever, and then as you exit the town through the next area to go to the next area, it's another battle. Like I like those because I don't want to deal with the base building crap. Like I want to do the story and I want to do the fights. And so like those are what I really enjoy when it comes to those kinds of games.
Another game you might want to check out, that doesn't involve base building and stuff like that, Banner Saga. I have played through part of the first one. There's 3 of them now,
Yeah, they're all
but
on iPad too, aren't they?
they have a pretty strong story element to them. But then like it's just like in between, the battles, and the battles are turn based, and yeah, I think they're on Game Pass. Um, so yeah.
One of my gaming holy grails is the Shining Force remake that came out for Game Boy Advance. Just so people know that, because they put out a version that came out on Game Boy Advance in like mid 2000s, and very low print run, kind of hard to find, pretty rare. But it's just kind of like it's a slight update to the original Genesis game, and like I'm sad that the Shining series doesn't really exist in the form that it used to. Like there's no reason that Fire Emblem doing well doesn't mean that there couldn't be a Shining Force game that could be really awesome right now. So
Well, it was cool because Shining Force was like you had like Final Fantasy and you had Shining Force, and then you had a game like that came out called Suikoden that kind of combined this idea of collecting a million different like people to play as.
mm-hmm.
And there were these huge technical like tactical battles where if you didn't
Yeah.
have the force built up, like there's so many of these games that like built off of each other that were really really cool, and I just want to see more of those, I guess, in a way. But I like Fire Emblem to a certain extent, but like this specific Fire Emblem, Three Houses or whatever, like there is that bullshit management on the back end that I just like. I don't fucking want that. Like
Yeah.
I want to just fight and have the story told to me. I don't want to have to like date all of my students and like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't
Especially as a
need that.
father to be.
I get it.
Yeah,
get it.
don't make it weird, Brian.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. I think honestly it'd be interesting if they were like, here's Fire Emblem. Like honestly, the Fire Emblems that came out on like GBA were what you were talking about, right?
Oh, dude, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is like the
Yeah.
best tactical Final Fantasy game that will ever be made. Like they will never top that. Like even Tactics Advance 2 was not very good. Like the first one, I have hundreds upon hundreds of hours playing that game through college. I mean, I missed a lot of college classes playing that game. Don't tell mom. Because I would
Happy
just sit in
Mother's
the
Day,
back of the
Mom.
class and play it. But no, I mean, I specifically remember a quick anecdote. We had taken a test in psychology. It was the psychology 1010 class at Wayne State in Manoogian, and they I would show up every day and I'd play it on my little pocket SP or whatever,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And I sat with this girl I went to high school with named Wendy and this friend that she had made at Wayne State. And like I sat with them every day because they were people that I knew in this like huge lecture hall.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd play that game and we took the test. The first test that we took, they both failed it like miserably. and I ended up with like a C+ or something like that. And they were just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what? And they're like, all you do is play that stupid video game with those anime characters like all day long. And I'm like, yeah, so. And they're like, how do you like, what is this? And I was like, I don't know, I just learned subliminally, I guess. It doesn't make sense.
You're like the people that need to like crochet during their lecture. You just need to play Final Fantasy Tactics.
I need something to keep me awake, and I will figure out how to learn from that.
Osmosis.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I
got a whole. Go ahead.
I was gonna say we could probably talk about other gaming and school related stories, but I had a similar class at Wayne. Not a similar class. It was an engineering class at Wayne State where I almost beat the whole first Portal during one class period.
Oh, dude, I played Pokemon Red like all through Mr. Serpiel's English class in high school, and
That's pretty good.
I had a girl lose her fucking mind after a test in that class because of that.
I remember that story. But
she was very upset.
Zach in the chat says, I can't imagine John trying to play Disgaea. Did you ever try to play those games?
I tried the demo for the one that was coming out on Switch, and I did not like it.
Yeah, I think it's like Disgaea 5 or something like
Yeah.
that. I've always been intrigued by those games. Never actually played any of them, but
I don't know anything about them. I don't even know what kind of game that is.
it's another like Japanese strategy RPG type game. But anyway, Gears Tactics is cool. If you have Game Pass for PC, you should check it out. Hopefully it comes out for Xbox soon. And yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully I'm going to stick with it a little bit. I'm trying to get Final Fantasy out of the way, at least, because it's occupying most of my video game brain power, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right.
We got a bunch of news.
Yeah, we'll move on to some news. Let me adjust our stream a little bit here. And
you want to start with the Last of Us stuff?
Yeah, let's start with that. So shortly after our last episode, Sony came out and announced release dates for The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. So Last of Us Part 2 is coming on June 19th, which is maybe, what was the previous date before that? I think they moved it. It went from like the end of March to like April, and then it got indefinitely indefinitely delayed.
Yeah, because of Corona. So
now it's coming on June 19th. Apparently enough time for them to fill up the distribution channels that way. And then it looks like Ghost of Tsushima, which was originally like mid-June, I think is now coming in July 17th. So nice that video games are still coming despite the current situation. But there was a bunch of other Last of Us news that happened this past 2 weeks as well.
Like a bunch of hackers released like major plot points.
Yeah, so John posted this Forbes piece from Paul Tassi, I believe, talking about how they basically like a ton of story points, bullet points. I think even I think there were some cinematics that were actually released as well.
Yep.
But a lot of spoilers got put out starting like 2 weeks ago. And then eventually Sony figured out that it was a bunch of hackers who did it rather than the story that was being passed around, which was like a disgruntled employee supposedly did it, which always smelled fishy to a lot of people out there anyway. But yeah, it's
Well, and the reason like that story of it being disgruntled employees seems so fishy is because even though like a lot of these companies, like I think Jason Schreier touched on this in the new Triple Click podcast, but even though like some of these companies have these very toxic environments that they've created from like crunch and everything,
yeah.
very rarely will anybody involved with the project want to actually ruin it for everyone else who's involved with the project. Like they've invested so much time and effort and creativity into like making this amazing product, they don't want to ruin it for everyone. Like and
Yeah.
if anybody did, like if anybody like who was working on that team like legitimately wanted to ruin it for everyone, like fuck that person.
Yeah.
Like
I
For
mean,
sure.
fuck this person, whoever they are, for doing
yeah,
this in general. Like, who gets off on anonymously leaking the end of a game that people have like want, or the whole story of a game that people have been looking forward
I
to
mean,
for like years?
I don't know how different of a situation I would really call it, but the like there's a group of people on Reddit that were spoiling Game of Thrones during production. Like it would never actually like they would be spoiling details from like people spying on the set and getting a hold of scripts and things like that. Same thing happened with like Westworld and things like that. But for some reason there's this like subculture on the internet that just loves knowing the spoilers and shitting on things out of context.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like this is another case of that. I honestly I don't think these leaks are going to affect their bottom line much anyway. I have a hard time seeing that because I feel like there's enough people dialed in and enough people that love The Last of Us that they wouldn't even seek this stuff out even if it was widely available to them. But it's still super, super shitty that somebody would basically go and hack this information out of some type of thing, especially like it could have been them taking advantage of the fact that like Naughty Dog needs to work more off-site, and so all of this stuff is more readily available on some platform for them to be able to distribute to the people that need it to work on it. Like that blows. So it's a bummer, but I'm glad the game does have a new release date, and there was a new trailer that came out as well. I didn't watch it. John, did you watch the trailer?
I did, yeah. It looks like it's gonna be really fucking good.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for it still. Like overall, even with some of what we said, like it just
Like if you did a let's play of this, I would probably watch the whole thing. Like if you did a let's play of the whole game, like I would totally be down with that.
well, I mean, I could maybe do that, but I don't
Because
know if I
by the
will or
time
not.
this comes out, I'm gonna be a dad and won't be able to play it anyways.
You're not
So
gonna even have time to watch him play.
I'll have plenty of time to watch him, no matter what time, day or night. I mean, I may fall asleep in the middle of it,
You
but
just got to take advantage of using headphones while you're holding the baby / feeding the baby. You got to 3D print yourself some jigs to feed the baby while you're playing PlayStation.
it's like a headphone like chin like bottle holder.
Yes, yeah. You
So
basically
that I can hold the controller and position my arms in a way and just kind of jut my head down to like
uh-huh.
prop the bottle up in front of the baby's mouth.
Yeah, hold it at the right angle to get the right. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, the trailer's not loading, sadly. But
It is very cool. I would recommend checking it out if you're interested at all.
but
I'm trying to not get hyped for this game now that I don't have a PlayStation anymore.
it's fair.
I'm gonna rehype myself when, you know, a PS5 comes out and I can get one of those and then play it.
That makes sense.
Or just wait for it to pop on PlayStation Now and you can just rent
No,
spend
I'm
$10
not gonna
on PS
that
Now and then play it
pixelated
on.
laggy garbage. Not playing Last of Us 2 that way.
Plus, that'll be like a year and a half from now before they
Yeah,
put it
whatever.
up on there
Yeah.
for for people
I'll
to
just get a
download.
PS5. I know they're gonna put a new Horizon game on there, and I'm gonna have to play that. So
That's fair.
Right on.
Next
All right,
up,
so
I have a
enough
bunch
Last of
of
Us.
I have a bunch of Xbox news. There was a story that Polygon ran on May 1st saying the Xbox Series X launch is on schedule, but the next gen games may be delayed by the pandemic. It's mostly based off of comments that Phil Spencer made saying that they've experienced some delays and things with the console production and hardware stuff, but they feel like they're still on track for what they need to do, but they don't really know exactly how much the game production has been impacted by a lot of this stuff. I assume they have an idea about like Halo Infinite and other things, but we'll have to see. Which that
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of we're gonna see a lot of like the bigger games take a backseat, but I bet there will be a whole bunch of indies come out.
Yeah, I mean, if they're smart, that was the way that like Sony had kind of weathered the beginning of PlayStation 4 kind of drought going on. They supported a lot of indies. So the other thing that came out was that they revealed the boot screen on Inside Xbox, which is I didn't even watch that because whatever, who cares? But they're they're going to hold a July event for their like first party games that are coming.
Well, you're gonna want to watch this boot screen so you can hear the sound for the next time we play the game where we have to guess the
Oh,
boot
okay.
sound.
All right. Yeah.
yeah,
I'll have to I'll check it out at some point. But um no, so that's cool that they're going to be showing off more of their games in July. They showed off a bunch of other stuff this week which is going to come up shortly here, but they did talk more about smart delivery, which is the idea that when you buy an Xbox One version of a game, then you will get the upgrade to the Series X version free of charge. And that looks very widespread with a lot of the stuff that they showed off this week, too.
I think part of that too, I could be wrong, is that it'll automatically like recognize which console you're downloading from and download the right version,
Yeah,
not like the enhanced version and not, the regular Xbox One version.
that's what makes it smart, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And delivery program.
oh, okay.
It's gonna deliver it to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. In an intelligent manner.
Yes. So this past Thursday, there was they called it a gameplay reveal. I beg to mostly differ.
So does the majority of the internet.
It is in-game graphics, like it's the same graphics as the gameplay, but it doesn't really show any gameplay.
It's the same graphics on a dev kit of the game. So
It's whatever.
but
There were cool looking things in it. It's worth watching just to
Yeah,
see neat
well, I mean,
graphics.
people were mostly pissed about the Assassin's Creed Valhalla release that they did for this event because it was all the way at the very end of the event for one, and it showed like zero actual gameplay other than like a couple of like pillaging scenes supposedly or something to that effect. It was not gameplay
It's a
footage.
bit misleading.
yeah.
In this list though, that Bright Memory Infinite game that pops up in the second is the second game.
Yeah.
That looks awesome. If that game looks like that, when you actually play
I
it,
thought
like
that was the first game that
that's
they
the first
showed.
one they show. These are all out of order.
We're
but,
we're
like,
looking at a
Yeah.
Verge article that has the games listed.
This looks amazing.
It was
Like,
developed by a single developer somehow. That's what it says.
My understanding is that Bright Memory is available now on Steam, and you will get Bright Memory Infinite when it comes out at some point, which is
Interesting.
weird.
but this looks ridiculous.
It
Like,
does look
if
very
this
good.
game, if it looks like this, like the graphics look like that with all the ray tracing awesomeness going on, that's extremely exciting because it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very cool looking game. The next one on the list is Call of Sea, first person adventure puzzle game. Here on The Verge, they're saying it says think serious Firewatch vibes here with even more impressive looking scenery. These are pretty cool looking. A lot of these trailers were cool looking. The games they are what they are. I wasn't like super pumped on the majority of them, but they're like I said, that Bright Memory game looks awesome. There's another game called Scorn that looked really cool. Second Extinction looks okay. The Ascent looks okay. The Medium looked really interesting. I'm super pumped for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I was talking about that in our chat. I love the Vampire the Masquerade universe, and Bloodlines was one of my favorite games back in the day. And Zach, I need to track down my copy of it, but I want to play the original on my new system because apparently Zach said it holds up, which is cool.
That's cool.
And yeah, got a new Yakuza game coming out, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all like it wasn't, they didn't show as much as I was thinking they were gonna show, and like there was zero, obviously they're not gonna show like Cyberpunk or anything like that, but
Mhm.
this is all really cool that they're starting to show some more of the games and the people that are putting stuff out. So
Well, and they didn't necessarily even say what of these is going to be launched, and like this is all probably like launch window or in the next year or so, which is fine.
Right.
You know, that's just kind of how it goes, especially with the current situation that the world is in. But you know, a lot of cool indications of where they're going with this gen, and you know, they showed off Madden 21, which is funny because they very notably were like, this does not. They didn't say it, but it didn't have the smart delivery icon on it like all the other trailers did. Because they're like, guess what? We're not gonna give you the new one if you buy it.
no, it says it right here.
Does it really?
It says EA hasn't pledged to support smart delivery at this time, but it did announce that owners of the Xbox One version of Madden NFL 21 would get the Xbox
Okay.
Series X version of the game for free.
Well, that's
Probably because it's coming out so close to the launch, you know, like they're just going to do it anyways to like be a team player. Like, I don't
yeah,
know.
that's interesting. I wonder why the distinction. But
Because I bet you they give you the Xbox One version with like lower graphics, and you have to go out and buy like the Xbox One, like the Series X version to get like the better ray tracing football game graphics that you so desire.
yeah. But anyway,
I did make that comment when I was talking about this in the chat that like the Madden games have come so far graphically, like they are actually kind of impressive to see, just to look at.
well,
Like,
that's like I would watch a montage moving from like you know John Madden on the Sega Genesis all the way up to Madden 21, and that would be
That's
like,
what
oh
they
man,
did.
well that's great. I didn't
Yeah.
watch it apparently, but
what
anyway.
I really want is for them to actually get that Frank Caliendo guy to come on and do his John Madden impression for all the voiceover,
There you go.
because that would be fantastic.
But yeah. Anyway, lots of new games coming for Xbox. Sounds like we're going to hear more in July, which is exciting, at least in terms of first party stuff.
Yeah, there were a lot of them in there that looked really interesting to me that I had never heard of before, like Chorus and the Medium.
Yeah,
And
one of the cool things that they showed about the Medium is like the idea that they are using, because they have this SSD technology, you're kind of able to do this like they can kind of layer a world over another world, or like instantly transport you to like a dark version of the same world that you're in.
nice.
And it just looked really cool. They had some really cool effects that they were applying there. So yeah. No, it looks cool. The other thing is I don't even necessarily think like a lot of these are Xbox exclusive even necessarily, but unless I missed something where they said that. But
I mean, obviously Madden isn't.
no, yeah, and same with Assassin's Creed. But I think you know, it's
Scorn. That one looked good.
Cool to see. Cool to see all the new games. Have somebody talking about all the new games, and you know, interesting to me that Yakuza 7. This is Yakuza Like a Dragon is Yakuza 7, and it seems like they're doing a. This is kind of a confirmation of like a split console release, but it's going to be coming out so much later that I don't know. Like, I assume the English version will be Xbox, and yeah, so they said Xbox One and Xbox Series X of the game. So you have cross save functionality between those two in this game, particularly. So it's cool that they're kind of doing a cross console release for that one. I don't know if they had an actual date on it yet either, which would be interesting to know.
I think I forgot to mention I did actually try to play Yakuza. I tried to play Yakuza 0 like a few weeks ago.
How'd that go?
I uninstalled it.
It's a pretty weird game.
I was like, it was kind of intriguing to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure the story is really good, but like, I don't like sitting there watching the story as much as I was already doing in the first, you know,
Yes.
like I played maybe 5 minutes in the first 30 minutes I was playing that game, I felt
Mhm.
like. And well, like I said, while I found the story interesting, and I think it probably goes interesting places, especially since there's like 6 or 7 games or whatever. It's just, yeah, there's not the gameplay part. Like when it teaches you how to beat somebody up in an alley or a bunch of people. And I
Yeah.
was like, this isn't fun. The fighting mechanics are really boring.
It's very button mashy beat 'em up kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah.
but less depth than Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So,
I don't know. Maybe they get better
well, the
I just
interesting
in that.
thing,
assume it's mostly narrative based, and like it's the actual gameplay set up to be so simple because you're mainly just like trying to get to the next part of the story. Like you want to see the next plot point.
Yeah,
about Yakuza Like a Dragon is that it is a turn-based RPG rather than beat 'em up like the other games are.
Ooh, that's cool.
Because the main player is a huge Dragon Quest fan is basically the
That's funny.
rationalization for that. So I've heard interesting things about it. I am pretty intrigued, but I don't know
I
if I'll
mean,
get around to
I
it
could
or not.
always start there too because it's a new character, new storyline.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
For sure.
maybe I'll give it a try.
Yep. All right.
Cool.
Next up, let's talk about Jeff Keighley,
We love Jeff Keighley.
the Dorito Pope himself.
Yes.
GamesIndustry.biz is reporting that Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest is his latest push to rally the industry. For several weeks from May through August, he's going to be trying to basically schedule and serve as a hub for a lot of the bigger players in video games to make announcements that they would at an E3 type thing, which isn't going to happen this year.
What?
Yeah.
What?
There's a trailer in this article if you want to play that while we talk
Yeah,
about
we
it.
can do that if it'll play because apparently my internet is dying right now. Or YouTube is dying. I don't know.
YouTube's working fine for me, dude. It must be your end.
Yeah, it could also be the fact that I have like 7 megabytes of RAM in this computer since it died. But anyway, yeah, so he has this like schedule laid out basically for a bunch of the big players to come and give announcements. Companies like 2K, Activision, Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Blizzard, Bungie, CD Projekt Red, Digital Extremes, Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Sony, Square Enix, Private Division, Riot Games, Steam, and Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment are all confirmed. And they're expected to
Nice.
have more people join in the coming weeks. Nintendo is notably absent from that list, as they usually are for a lot of these things. Let me try and load this on a separate page. But anyway, it seems like a good way for them to organize the way the information is going to come out, and especially help some of the smaller game studios still get a good amount of press for their games. Even though E3 isn't necessarily happening this year.
For sure. No, I wonder like how he's going to format this because I mean, obviously it's taking place over the next like 4 months or whatever. Is he going to like take one of these big wig players and then put their stuff alongside a bunch of the smaller indie guys, or like how is that going to work, or is it only going to be focused on the big ones? Like, it'd be interesting to see how it all plays out. But in the trailer they show off a bunch of stuff like the new like Hellblade 2, and they're showing off Cyberpunk, and they're showing off I can't remember. I just watched the damn thing too, but there's a bunch of games they're going to be showing off, a lot of which we already know about and are expecting. But it's it's cool to see somebody who, I mean, obviously like he knows like all these games fest that were supposed to happen aren't going to happen now, but to have somebody who like has been doing the live stream thing for a long time now, through the Game Awards to be able to like set up his own thing to work really well to talk about these games and help like the community just kind of build off of this particular event that we're all living through. So
Yeah, so if you go to summergamefest.com, they've got that trailer and they have a brief schedule right now of what's on there. They had this past week's Inside Xbox where they revealed a bunch of gameplay that we just discussed, and it looks like there's some sort of surprise coming. It says join Jeff Keighley for a surprise game reveal. And it says Sunrise #1, but I don't know if it's supposed to say surprise or sunrise. That's coming on May 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern. But they have this thing, you can kind of click through it. Steam Game Festival Summer Edition is going to be starting June 9th through June 14th. Looks like they're going to show off some of the stuff that's on sale, maybe. I don't know. There's a Cyberpunk event that's scheduled for June 11th. And
Yes.
also
I'm so excited.
EA Play Live is scheduled for June 11th as well, which is their normal, usual E3 slate of announcements that they do. In July, the only thing on the calendar at the moment is TennoCon, which is the Warframe convention that normally happens in July. They're going to be doing some type of announcements there. And then in August, they have like a Gamescom. Gamescom, instead of doing their live event, they're going to be doing some type of online stuff, and it looks like he's going to be hosting the opening night of that. So
Cool.
very cool. Glad that some of these big events are still going to have some way to happen, and cool to have him organizing the kind of the flow of information and some type of fun, like here's your big game announcements this week. So
It's a nice looking site too.
yeah, it's pretty well put together.
I hate the font, but I like everything else.
It's fair.
You're so fontist.
Typist.
So next up, Brian, you posted this article about the Doom Eternal soundtrack being a train wreck from Kotaku.com.
Yeah, per usual, I'm not sure I read the whole article. But
Yeah. So basically, like, there's been a lot of complaints coming out about like people opening up Doom soundtrack, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal soundtrack in Audacity. There's a Twitter person named that AC/DC guy who compared two of the games. And you can kind of see that it's been massively clipped and like compressed compared to the 2016 game. And it kind of started this whole discussion between Mick Gordon, who I think did a bunch of the music for 2016 and some of the music for Eternal, and kind of people from not only Mick Gordon, but then also a bunch of people from like id pointing fingers at each other as to what exactly happened and what went on. And it even went so far as to, like, I think id released kind of statements that were like, here's what happened on this day with these people, and this happened on that day with these people, and things of that nature. But yeah, it sounds like a total mess. It's really shitty that these people are just trying to like throw each other under the bus about all of it. And like, I think one of the interesting things that they brought up on the Giant Bombcast about this one is the idea that like when you talk about the soundtrack to this Doom game, like there's the song that's playing in the level at any given time, right? But then there's things that dynamically happen to it when you're actually playing the game, like when you're fighting enemies as opposed to just like standing around or hunting for secrets, that type of thing. And so it's not like it's just copying a bunch of MP3s and putting them into a soundtrack and like, it's not the way that you would traditionally think of like a soundtrack for like a movie or even older video games would work. It's much more dynamic than that. So it just kind of seems like, so it's like a 59 track original soundtrack, and that's a lot of music, and it seems like a lot of work that the one person, Mick Gordon, didn't necessarily all complete himself and didn't mix all himself. And so it just is a major bummer that, I don't necessarily care about the Doom soundtrack that much. It's a lot of fun for what it was in 2016. I don't know how Eternal compares. What your thoughts are on that, Brian?
It's pretty great. It's
So,
like a big part of the whole feel of that game. Like, it wouldn't be the same without it.
but did you notice anything when you were playing through
Well,
the new one?
here's the thing. From what I understand, like, from what I did read in the article, this is the soundtrack that's released that you can listen to outside of the game.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about as
Okay.
far as how the mixing is. Like, it seems fine in game.
Okay. All right. So, at least in game, it's not necessarily affected, but like people do really enjoy these Doom soundtracks, and they go out of their way to like
Yes,
buy
exactly.
the CD release or the digital album, that type of thing. And so it sounds like I think Marty Stratton from id is one of the lead producers who came out with like the long statement kind of outlining how id felt about it and why like Mick Gordon isn't the entirety of who was in control of what happened with the music on the soundtrack side. So
Yeah, I guess basically what it said ultimately too was that he just he had a deadline for what he was supposed to do and didn't meet it, so then they put the work on somebody else and
yeah,
they finished.
who
So
who had to like rush and basically be like, all right, like that's
yeah,
59 pieces of music that had to be put together in some type of way where, well, like what I'm talking about, like fading
yeah,
into the more extreme part where you're fighting things and then fading out of that into whatever other parts. Like it's video game soundtracks aren't as straightforward as they used to be, it seems like, and this sounds like no exception to that. So
it's all very unfortunate. I feel like it's largely just it just happened due to circumstance or like misunderstandings, whatever. But ultimately, it is going like I don't think anyone here is like the real bad guy in this scenario. Like I don't think anyone was trying to screw anyone else over intentionally.
yeah,
It's just things didn't work out, and now Mick Gordon and id are not going to work together on the next game, and that's the bummer for the fans.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I think part of that problem was the fans were the ones who were saying that like, oh, Mick Gordon should have known better or something than to do this kind of crap. And Mick Gordon was like, I didn't do any of that. Like they
Yeah,
tried to
that's
put it
what
on
started
him
all of
and
this.
he was like, it wasn't me. And then but he didn't you're only seeing his side of the story. And then id's like, well, he wasn't meeting deadlines, so we had to do something because that the biggest thing a developer like the last thing developers want to deal with is like having to delay things and have the audience of that thing be pissed off at them because they have to keep pushing it off. And if it's literally down to one person and the rest of
Hmm.
the team is ready to hit go, they're going to get rid of that one person. Like
yeah.
they cut the tide they needed to cut in order to get the product out that they needed to get out in time. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't even doubt like whoever mixed this stuff probably isn't terrible at mixing either. They just automated a lot of it to get it done as quick as they needed to get it done.
I'm curious, like what format was that Audacity file that they showed? Like, I mean, if it's some kind of MP3 or anything of that sort, it's going to be super compressed and bullshit. But if it's like a high quality, like FLAC or WAV file,
I
it won't
assume
it won't
that
be as compressed.
ACDC guy is very clear on his Audacity dealing. Yeah, I have no idea, but hopefully, like I would assume that this is him comparing like the MP3s that he got from Amazon.com or something like that, but who knows, really?
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
if I
there's
can trust his opinion if he's so into AC/DC, but let's not get into that.
that's a whole other podcast.
Yes.
We can talk about Metallica like we were in our Discord, but anyway. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know. Like it looks like right here 16-bit PCM 44,000 hertz. Like I would assume okay, and then this other track is at 48,000 hertz with a 32-bit float. So who knows? Maybe they're not even necessarily equivalent, but
But
I don't
even
know.
still, like your sources, like sources are gonna have a huge differentiate. Brian's dying. Uh, Sources are gonna differentiate the quality and the compression between them.
For
Like
sure. For sure. There's a lot of variables here, I'm sure. But I mean, that's the thing. If there were enough people complaining about it, there must actually be an issue there, right? Like it
what's the issue? Like what average consumer is gonna go? Like this guy This guy is just one of those people he's just one of those people who's gonna like try to find something to be mad about because he has to be mad about shit all the time. Like that's what this seems to me.
I'm
Like,
not going to disparage that AC/DC guy, but I don't think like this wouldn't have blown up into a thing like this if there wasn't some truth to the fact that there's a difference between the previous
sure,
soundtrack
but
and
the
this
average
one.
consumer isn't going to be able to hear or know the difference when they're listening on their fucking Beats headphones. Like that's
Probably not. Probably
because
not.
Beats have a built-in EQ and they compress the shit in a whole different way compared to everything else. Marquez Brownlee has a great video about why Beats are kind of useless if you want to go watch it.
They're overpriced, that's for sure.
But yeah, unless you get them for free with your iPad because Apple owns Beats now. But anyways, like they
This should be an entirely different podcast.
For
Yeah.
100%.
Let's move on to the next news.
anyways,
This is your fault, Brian.
it's not
Sorry.
Bethesda or id Software's fault. Don't blame them. They
I
just
think-
had to get their shit out on time.
I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of blame to take on this, and they should all be ashamed of themselves.
Shame.
Everyone is to blame, even us.
Yep. We should have bought the
Sorry.
game more.
We need to get like a soundboard shame bell from Game of Thrones.
That's Jeff Goldblum laughing at.
That's the Jeff Goldblum shame laugh.
Yes, he's laughing at whoever we want to make
we
him
just
laugh
we
at.
just need like a shame ding ding. Like we just need that like one bell ding or two bell dings and that's it.
Can we move on before I piss myself?
Yeah, it's fine.
Please, yeah, just piss yourself.
Mortal Kombat 11 is getting more story mode and also RoboCop in another set of DLC that is coming later this month, I believe. My
Murphy.
thing is completely frozen here, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, Murphy doesn't move much.
But it's called Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath. They put out a trailer for it that kind of ruins the end of the game, so hopefully you haven't waited to play it if you wanted to see that. But it sounds like there's a few other favorites returning, including Fujin and Shiva, which is cool. But also, yes, RoboCop. I don't know if he's voiced by, if he's actually like voiced
Peter
by
Weller.
Peter Weller. He
Peter
should
Weller.
be, but I don't know if he is or not.
There's some caption under that photo of RoboCop up top or video that says something
Yes,
about Peter
featuring
Weller.
the voice of Peter Weller. Thank goodness. So that's awesome.
Sweet.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So
Murphy.
very cool. So I originally rented the game. I'm honestly thinking about picking it up. So they have a
Oh,
digital.
I thought you bought it, but that makes more sense now why you were questioning buying it.
Yeah,
again.
no,
yeah,
no,
because you're waiting for the Aftermath collection,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
obviously.
honestly,
when you
like
buy it.
that's well the thing here's the real problem here is that there's no idea whether or not from the character list that leaked for DLC, it seems like there's a second combat pass that's going to come out. So will there be a version of this game in 2021 that has everything for $60? Probably.
Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath 2.
Ultimate Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate Aftermath Ultimate Collection?
Yes.
featuring Red Foreman's character from RoboCop.
So, Clarence Boddicker, thank you very much.
Oh, he has a name.
He does have a name. But yeah, so if you bought the original game, that was $60. Then there was the combat pass, which I think was probably at least $30, maybe $40. That's $100 that you spent. So this Aftermath thing is another $40 on top of that. And then if they do another combat pass, you'd be spending Destiny money on Mortal Kombat.
Oh, shame. Ding ding. Shame.
Hey, you know what I didn't play the last 2 weeks?
What'd you play? No, don't.
No, don't even.
We already talked about it. It's too late. You didn't play Destiny. That's good. Congratulations. You should keep that up. But yeah. Anyway, it's cool that this is the first time they're doing story DLC for a Mortal Kombat game. So that's what has me more intrigued with it. They're also putting friendships in the game. I don't know if you guys are watching this.
Those are dumb.
I don't know.
Yeah,
this
those
this
are lame.
Scorpion one
That
looks
looks
pretty
really
sweet.
cool, though.
Yeah, they look really nice. Is the thing.
All
Big
right,
ass buddy.
fine. We can
Get
be-
over here. and
we can
give
have
me a
friendship.
hug.
But yeah, so I might pick it up. It sounds like they are offering right now digitally. You can pick up the original game plus the Combat Pass and Aftermath for $60 right now. So that's really cool, but I'm excited for it. I will probably end up doing that because I like Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo has sold 13.41 million copies of Animal Crossing New Horizon over 6 weeks, which
The
is
most successful pandemic release of all time.
right.
They couldn't have picked a better time. Maybe they engineered this whole thing.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like I don't.
Now, that's a whole other podcast, Brian.
Let me see if I can find it. But there was a sales chart that compared it to previous Animal Crossing releases. That was really, really incredible. They've announced that they already have sold their lifetime projections for what they thought it was going to sell.
That's ridiculous.
So that's insane. But basically, like, this game has currently sold more than the lifetime of any other Animal Crossing game. Which
Wow.
is nuts. And congratulations to them because I think it's great. I know John doesn't necessarily agree.
Yeah.
It seems
I
like
always-
a lot of, yeah, whatever.
I always think to myself, like, maybe I should play Animal Crossing. And then I pick up my Switch and promptly put it back down.
Well, thanks for buying it anyway. Nintendo's laughing all their way to the bank.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that's crazy. And the Polygon article says that the vast majority of those 13 million sales, so 11.77 million, came in the first 11 days from the game's March 20th debut through March 31st. So
That's
So-
insane.
About 1 million copies a day. That's great.
yeah, that's nuts. Congratulations to them. Like, they've only sold 17.37 million copies of Pokemon Sword and Shield since November 15th when it came out. So, like, the fact that Animal Crossing is pretty hot on the tails of that already is nuts. Congratulations, Nintendo.
You know, the funny thing is they probably would have sold more copies if more Nintendo Switches were available.
Oh, without a
That's
doubt.
true.
Without
yeah.
a doubt. Like, if it was easy for me to have gotten a Switch Lite when I was like, I should get a Switch Lite, they probably would have sold another copy, but they waited
Where's
too
that
long for
Ring
me.
Fit Adventure? I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Last and maybe least, some Valorant news. Brian, you posted this one. So there was a pretty strict anti-cheat on the game Valorant, which is Riot's Counter-Strike Fortnite game, basically.
Something like that.
And so this article on Polygon, the title is Valorant's anti-cheat won't automatically shut down your keyboard and mouse anymore. So it's called Vanguard. Basically, like, from what I understand, the anti-cheat needs to be running from the last time you started up for your from your computer to be able to run Valorant. And they've enabled now that you don't need to have it running all of the time, but it also means you need to do a fresh restart with it activated in order to boot up the game, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. But it looks like it was stepping on some questionable drivers for not even necessarily questionable drivers, but drivers that it thought was suspicious for certain mice and keyboards and things like that.
And
Even cooling fans. Awesome. I just read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but Vanguard has kernel access to your entire computer.
Of course it does. So
Also, it's owned partially by the Chinese government.
yeah.
I'm not going to buy into all of that, being
that's a
an
fact.
issue. No. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that necessarily means that, it's the Chinese government trying to hack your computer
Or mine
to do
Bitcoin with
nefarious
everybody.
things. But do I want to install a game that probably isn't worth
The
my
trouble.
while anyways, just to have all that happen to my computer? No, I don't want any program to do that to my computer. To have access to shutting my keyboard and mouse down is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's total insanity. And cooling fans is insane. That's probably the
Yeah.
most insane part of it to me.
Like they could fry your computer just for fun.
Not even for fun, because somebody's finger slipped, or like they didn't do their due diligence to figure out what it should be allowing and not allowing. Like,
Yeah. I would rather deal with cheaters than deal with a
well,
software
and all
solution
right,
like
on the
this.
flip side of the coin, if you're the kind of person who's hacking your fan drivers to cheat at Valorant, get a fucking life. Seriously. Like, what in the world are you doing?
Yeah.
That's insanity to me. But yeah, I think that's it for news.
Cool.
Cool.
I think that's it for this episode. I don't even know what we're going to talk about next time.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure something out, I'm sure. I'll take a look at I might talk about, well, no, the Mortal Kombat stuff won't be out by then. What are you laughing at?
What is coming out? Is there anything coming out soon?
Let's take a look at the Wikipedia article that I pull up at the end of every episode, but never have it loaded to talk about in a reasonable amount of time. So today's the 10th. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer comes out on the Switch next week. So
Yes.
that's some good news.
If it's like $10, I'll get it.
I would hope that's the most it's going to be.
Yeah, I'd prefer less, but
No, I don't think there's anything crazy coming out this month. So we might just have to come up with something fun to talk about next episode. But we'll figure something out. We'll let people know. Come talk to us in our Discord and let us know what you think we should talk about next time.
I feel like we need to do a lot of bonus episodes too. We owe that to our patrons.
We do owe that to our patrons. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but we'll figure something out. We will figure. I need to get the boys on the horn for some Resident Evil and also some Final Fantasy VII spoiler chat, which now that Westworld is wrapping up, I should be able to do. But
sounds good.
We will figure that out.
Yeah. Cool. Sorry, I was like looking up to see if I could find a list of other things that are coming out, but I really can't. So anyways, if you want to follow us on social media or see other places you can listen to or watch a show, check out MidwestGamers.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month to help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreons. We've got shows about Westworld and The Alienist, and you can go back and probably listen to all the Midwest Film Nerds podcast episodes that you want to. And we've got Horror Movie Yearbook, and those guys are great. And they just celebrated their 100th episode, which is coming out shortly here. So, if you want to have an opportunity to speak with us directly via our Discord, you can do so through the Patreon. And as always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. So, be sure those rates and reviews are super helpful for us as a podcast. Please do that, definitely. And if you have your Twitch Prime subscription that you want to give away for free, you can do that for us. That would be sweet. We'd appreciate that as well. Other than that, thanks again for listening, and everybody in the Discord. We appreciate all you guys, especially Jason K and Gojo. You guys are great. And thanks again to everybody in the Twitch chat who talked to us. Looks like it was mostly just Zach.
Yeah,
Zach. That's okay.
Thanks for joining us. And yeah, he said we could talk about Siege, which we have done. And then he also said that if Brian ever plays Sins of a Solar Empire with me, and Brian has offered to do that right after this podcast. So
it looks like there are a couple users in the chat too. So thanks again to those guys for being there, lurking at least. We do appreciate that as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.